pause the recording. Okay, so welcome to our call. Today is July 2nd. I know that we still got people hopping on, but I just wanted to make sure that I gave Haylee, our guest speaker, enough time to talk. So I'm going to introduce Haylee, and then I will also do some recognition. So I'll do recognition first, and then I'll get into our guest speaker. So I will go ahead and start sharing my screen. Welcome. I love seeing y'all hop on. Let's see here. Okay, so first graphic. I guess we'll do this one because it's up. So our first graphic that we have is our race to diamond. If you don't see your face on this and you're like, hey, I'm shooting for diamond, then tell me, let me know, and I will make sure that I include you in our next week's graphic. So we have Ashley over there on the left who needs 2 emeralds and 2 more coaches. Brooke who needs 3 more coaches. Neil who needs 2 more coaches. And then we have Heather next, and Heather's got 2 coaches on one leg that are active. And then I know a lot of you guys have other coaches and they're just not active right now. But a lot of us are going to be having people get active with the purchase of Morning Meltdown and hopefully getting back on to beach bars, Shakeology, Energize and Recover, whatever it is that brings you joy. I know, do you like that I'm sitting down here? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I like that little babe. Anyways. What? Nothing. All right. So we have Paula over here, and she has 2 on her left leg, and I actually had a great call with Paula earlier today. Really awesome to have that. So don't forget, guys, I love doing like one-on-one calls with you all. So really, truly schedule those with me. It's really helpful, I think, for all of us. And then we have Emily, who has 2 active coaches. So she's an emerald right now. We have Casey with 1 active coach, and then we have my second business center with 2 active coaches on my right leg. And then we will do our other graphics. They should all be here. Okay, so our June Success Club points, Ashley and myself, we're both at Success Club 6, and y'all, we pulled through the last day of the month. So I haven't done that in like 2 years. But I used to be known as like the person that would pull through on the last day of the month. And so it can be done. People used to come to me and ask me how I could do it. And I don't like to tell y'all because it's not fun. But anyways, I did it. So there you go. And so did Ashley. She, again, like second to last day of the month for her. Brooke had 2. Emily Dimmitch had 2. Heather Howard had 2. Morgan Bush had 2. Neil Bratton had 2. And Paula Jones had 2. So y'all, we still helped some people last month, and I'm really proud of us. Right here is our whole Team Give board. So some of you guys I know are on the whole entire Team Give that are on this call instead of just in my downline. So y'all just saw my downline stuff. But this is all of Team Give. So this is really awesome. I think, was this, you know, now I'm looking and this might be May. Did I grab the wrong one? Oh, well, y'all grabbed the wrong one. But when you go into the team page, you can see this new graphic that Michelle did. And pretty much all of us are on this board at some point or another. And I know that even though this could have been May's instead of June that I pulled on accident, that this is something new that Michelle's going to try to do. So this is really going to recognize you for your volume instead of just your Success Club. Hey, baby. I like your little naked one, Hannah. I couldn't help it. Look. So this is really where we're all like striving to be, is just making sure that we're helping people, regardless if it's Success Club points or if it's getting people on, you know, something like Shakeology or Energize or just the 3-month of bod trial. So don't forget to put value into no matter what it is that somebody is trying to succeed with their own journey in. And then next, I'm going to stop my screen share. You're probably about to hear my husband yell at the babies. But I'm going to introduce Haylee. So Haylee is our guest speaker tonight. She's going to help us with our pillar story. So I tagged y'all, most of y'all in Team Give, with this document, and it's all about just making sure that you kind of figure out who you are. Well, Haylee is a friend of mine here locally. She's actually been somebody who knows about Beachbody coaching. She knows about network marketing. She's been there, and she's also just really incredible with mindset and energy and really just making sure that you're aligned with everything. And we all know that there is, like, if we are not speaking our solid truth, if we are not putting our energy out there, if we are inviting out of negativity or out of, oh my God, I have to hit Success Club, it doesn't work. So that's one of the things that Haylee will kind of probably talk a little bit about even as we go into these pillar stories. So welcome to the call, Haylee. You may go ahead and take it over.
Hi, so I'm Haley. She just did a great little intro there. That was awesome. Yeah, so I'm a business mentor, but I specifically work, well, a couple different things. My specialties are kind of like content creation, helping people speak their truth and show up authentically online, and then also the energy and aligned strategy, which all kind of goes together. Like Tamara was saying, if you don't feel good about what you're saying and how you're showing up, like people can feel that on the other side. So today, hopefully the biggest thing you guys walk away with the pillar stories is this big list and this idea of what to say when you go to post. Because trust me, we've been there. Like, you go to post something, you know it needs to be authentic. You want to show up with like your best content, but we hit those walls where we're like, I don't know what to say. And so we end up picking out something just because we feel like we have to show up, but it's not like something that's really making the impact and the connection to your ideal clients, right? Your ideal customers, the people that you're wanting to draw into your business. So did everybody get the form? Do you guys have I know you have access to it. Okay. If not, like if you guys are on and you don't have it, it's okay. Like grab a piece of paper and just divide it into thirds. Like we can still do this. So your pillar stories is something that I developed with clients because of that exact thing. Like they kept coming to me feeling like they don't know what to say. So this is going to be like a confined brain dump on who you are and what makes you different, so that at the end of this, you'll be able to pull from your ideas and have like endless topics to show up and talk about. So the reason this is important, I'm just going to go through a couple points. I know some of these you guys have probably heard similar views on this, but it's so important with network marketing and in any online sales that people really connect to you, because the products alone, even if they're the most amazing products in the world that could change their life, if they don't connect with you, they're not going to stop their scroll and look at what you have to say. And they need to trust that you are that person that can help them transform, right? So they need to know you. They need to know your stories. They need to know more than just what the product is going to do for them. Does that make sense? Because there's more than just one of you out there selling it, right? So what makes them connect to who you are on a deeper level? They need to trust you as their leader, which means you have to show up and kind of share some of the things you've gone through. Because let me tell you, if you haven't already, when you show up and talk about like some of the struggles and things you've gone through in your life, even if they seem small to you, there's going to be someone out there, actually lots of people out there, that are going to connect and have gone through something identical to that or very similar. And then there's going to be this automatic trust thing. Like they're going to want to connect with you and reach out to you because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, Tamara's gone through this exact same thing. Like, I just want to talk to her about it. Like, she understands me. And so then there's this trust that you've already built without ever having to speak to that person. Does that make sense? Yes. So trust is going to be huge. And then consistency. Like, have you guys, like, think of somebody that you guys look up to on social media, somebody that's maybe in Beachbody, that's like up there at the top. And whether you realize it or not, you probably feel like you really know them, like more than you actually know them. So like think of an example. Everybody just like think of someone in your head that you're like, oh, that person's like, I know that person. Or is Tamara typing something? Oh yeah. Yeah, Melanie Mitro. Okay, I know her too. Like, I know her, right? I feel like I know her. Like, I don't know her at all, but I do because she's shared so many stories and consistent stories. Have you noticed that like that person that's in your mind right now, maybe they share like the same 2 or 3 stories, but they're telling it over and over again, right? It's pretty much the same story, but just like different versions of it. Mm-hmm. So by doing that consistency, like they feel like not only do they have the trust, but they feel like they can almost explain to you, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. I know her. She got rid of $100,000 of, debt, and she did this in her business in 2 years, or you guys know those stories because they've been repeated over and over again. Okay. So that's a little back as to like why we're going to do these pillar stories. 2 little things I wanted to add in here is when you are marketing, which all of you all are marketing with what you're doing, you're showing up on social media and you're marketing your business. It can seem boring as the person that's doing it. Okay. And why that is because you are repeating some of the same stories over and over again, but the people on the other side need to hear it because one, they're not going to see every post that you make, right? They're not going to see every single thing you put out there. So by showing up and saying similar messages, but different versions of it or different angles of the same stories, you're going to connect with them, and it's going to feel boring to you, but they need to know what you stand for. Okay. So, oh, and then I love to share this one other fact too, because I think this always really helped me when I was selling online, which you guys are, is that the average person needs 7 touch points to commit. Like 7 touch points before they actually say yes on average, which means some people need more than that. A touch point would be like a message, right? Or seeing your post, or clicking on a link to look at some of the things you guys are offering, the new latest workout, or like whatever it is. They need to actually have on average 7 of those touches for them to be like, I'm doing this. And so if you think about the math for a second, if they need on average 7 touches, how many of your posts are they seeing? Like half, maybe, right? So you're over here feeling like, I know I used to be this way. Like, I told my story, like I said it, like I offered the products, like I told them about the sale, and like, why aren't they buying? But like, they maybe saw it like once, right? So you're over here, you're going to have to like really show up and like keep sharing it, even if you're sharing it like 15 times, because they need that in order for them to get to that average. Does that make sense? Is that like higher than most of you all thought? Like, I'm just curious.
You know, I've always heard like the 7, but I didn't really think about if they're only seeing half of my stuff, then I really need them to see like at least 2 of my posts. So I really need to post for that specific person at least 4 times. And then I need to hope that they see my stories. I need to have like a touch point conversation, probably have sent them a link. So it's like, I'm kind of starting to think honestly about some of the people that I just have recently talked to, and how many times like there's a couple new people and I'm like, okay, I've invited them to 2 things so far. Like there's a couple of them, 2 things so far. That's it. That's just the 2 things. And they've probably seen my stories, and they may have seen 1 post. So they've seen 4 things, 4 touch points. So they're not ready yet.
They're not ready yet. And you feel like on the other end, it feels like, oh my gosh, I've said it so much, they're going to get so annoyed, right? Have you guys ever thought that? Like, if I say it too much, they're going to get like, right? Well, I'm just going to speak the honest truth here. I'm very I'm blunt with this. If they don't like what you have to say, they're not going to have liked it the first time you said it, which is fine. Like bless and release, right? Like, but the people that do connect to your story are going to like be like magnets to you. So whether you say your message once or you say your message 20 times, they're not going to be annoyed that you said the same message 20 times. Like, nobody's ever like, oh, this girl says the same thing. Like, that doesn't ever like cross people's mind, right? Because if they are your ideal like customer, they're going to want to hear that message, because every time they say it, it's reassurance to them that they know who you are and they know what your mission is about. Does that make sense? So don't be afraid to show up and keep speaking your truth. Okay, so let's dig into the pillar stories. This part's really fun to me. I want you guys to think about, and I'm glad that there's not like a ton of you on here, because I want to help you guys. Like, this is going to be interactive. We are going to think about 3 distinct stories that make you who you are. Another way to think about that might be 3 distinct stories as to why you're with Beachbody. Why are you here? Like, what got you to the point where you were like, I want to help people with their health? So start thinking of those. If you need help with it, just ask. I'm going to give you guys an example while you're thinking for a second of what this looks like. So for me, I could just say I'm a business coach, and I could show up online and I could just spew out facts, right? Like, Instagram, you need to do X, Y, Z. Or if you're going to grow your business, you need to do blah, blah, blah. I could just spew out facts at them, and I could just be a business coach, okay? Or I could build my business on the 3 pillars that are the reason why I'm who I am. So for me, it's finding my voice. I went through past emotional mental abuse with an ex-husband of mine, which is amazing because it helped me to actually figure out like what my mission was and what I stand for. And so under that category of my business are like endless stories about what finding my voice means to me, right? Helping you all right now find your voice, sharing your story online. That could be underneath that pillar. Standing up for my children and like speaking my truth and like having to go through some of the things I went through to like to protect my family and things like that are part of finding my voice. So you can kind of see like that's one pillar that my business is built on, and it's not just like cut and dry business coaching, right? Another pillar is that like energy in business. So like Tamara was saying in the beginning, like that business doesn't have to be so hard, that it can be easy if you add energy and strategy and alignment. And like that's a big part of who I am. And then taking ownership for your life and business is my third pillar. So like really taking ownership of where you are, what you're wanting to do, so that you can manifest what you really want in your future and break the rules that are holding you back. So I'm sharing that with you all because you can see that my pillars aren't just like content creation and like empowering women and like helping women make money, right? Because those are generic. So I want you guys to dig into like detailed things about who you are. So I'm just going to give you a hint, like fitness, health, and financial freedom is not enough. Yeah. Because like I've done this before with lots of teams and they'll be like, those are mine. And I'm like, oh, those are everyone's. Like we got to get deeper. We got to get deeper than that. Like I know that you all have stories that go deeper than just that. Like, yes, financial freedom is amazing. We all want money. Like money's great. We're not going to lie. It's great. But like, why? Was there a reason? Like, were you in debt? Were you financially irresponsible? Were you, what's the actual story behind wanting the income? Is it that your husband works morning to night and you don't see him? Is it that you used to not be able to, or you currently can't buy your children shoes because like that's where you're at? Like, what is the real story, right? Deeper than just surface. So I'm going to stop talking because I could like literally talk 24/7. I'm going to let you guys share some of what do you think your pillars are? Brooke, yeah? No? I thought you were. Don't be afraid to talk, you guys. I promise I'm not scary. Like,
do y'all want me to kick it off?
Yeah, I do.
I'm like, y'all are probably like, oh, okay, maybe. So my 3 pillars are gains, like muscle and like gains. Pregnancy, the desire to get pregnancy, and then a passion in my purpose, a passion in my job. So like under gains, because I did use the sheet. So and you can tell me if I'm going deep enough. But under gains, my mom used to tell me all the time, eat, you're too thin. And then my parents were going through a divorce. And so my freshman year, I gained like about 20 to 30 pounds my freshman year of college. I did that to deal with like the pain of that divorce, with a rape, and like just with a lot of stuff that I was battling with emotionally. And then I found Tone It Up. So post, when we were getting married, or right after we had gotten married, because we did PDX when we were getting married. And then I found Tone It Up after that. And then I got too small again. And so then I kept hearing mom say, eat, you're too thin. But with Beachbody, I found balance. So that's like my gains story. And my
okay. So you're going to flip that. Okay. So your story is actually going to be, I don't know if this summarizes it right, but like healthy body image, perhaps. Right? Like, and I can relate to this a lot, Tamara. Like I was the same way, although I'm heavier now than I've ever been, but like, that's a whole nother, it's fine. But like, I was always too, well, I mean, not, but you know what I mean? Like I was always too thin. I'm too thin. I'm too skinny. And I hated my body for being too skinny. And so I feel like your story could be like almost body acceptance. Mm-hmm. Like it's not about your size. It's about being healthy and being strong.
Yeah.
But yes, that's good. And so think about like underneath that, especially when you start going through these stories, like all the different topics that could go underneath that. So talk about, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the rape, but like talk about that, or talk about the divorce and what that did to your body and how you put on weight, but for an unhealthy reason, or how maybe at times where you were too thin, like you weren't eating the nutrients that balanced the like physical output, or like whatever your stories might be, right? Yeah. So dump all those ideas under that category out.
Yeah, got it.
And then pregnancy, what was that one?
Pregnancy was just really being healthy enough to conceive. I had 0 normal cycles between the time I was 16 to the time, or excuse me, 18 to the time I was 25. I had like 1 cycle when I was 16. My next cycle was when I was like 18. They put me on birth control then. So then I had regular cycles, and then we got off of it because he was like, whoa, you're crazy. Basically, it was, and we both decided I was crazy. So I was like, well, let's get off of like the pill. We're married. It's okay if we have a baby. Like, we're fine with it. And then for almost 2 years, I didn't cycle. So it was really finding that balance of getting, like, being at a healthy weight, as well as like putting the right nutrients into my body. And y'all are going to be happy because now I have a nice 35-day cycle. So I'm normal, y'all. I know I've talked to many of you guys about this, and I'm like, yeah, mine are like 45 days apart. I'm kind of okay with it now. Now they're like 35, and I'm like, dang it. Like,
that's funny.
They were further apart,
Yeah.
but
Every 3 years is cool.
yeah, every 3 years, that's cool. Yeah,
That'd be amazing.
I'm good, but yeah.
So do you share that story a lot? Do you share like?
I don't actually. I actually don't
Yeah.
share that one. I share more about the skinny stuff, but I don't share about the cycles very often.
That's powerful. Like, cause it's funny. We have very similar. Like, I see, that's my perfect example. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that about you. And I would have felt comfortable reaching out to you and been like, oh my gosh, that was me. And like, this was what was going on with my body. And so there's so much power in your story, you guys. Like, I just can't say it enough. I know you've seen it in other people, and you probably witnessed it too. Like, when you do share a story, like, the messages or the response that you'll get is different than when you share something that's like surface level, right? So that's powerful, Tamara. I think you should definitely share that. And then passions, what does that mean?
Passion and my purpose. So I can like remember, these ones were the ones where I could really remember like exact events. I remember my good friend Cassandra and my cousin Leslie were both commenting on a post that I put up about, and it was like basically like an open computer screen on a Sunday night. I had just done a craft fair show. I used to make jewelry, and so I did a jewelry show that weekend. It was a total bust, sucked. Like, we lost a bunch of money. And then I had to work that night for my IT job. And I was just like, I was over it. And I was like, I cannot believe I'm having to work tonight. Like, this totally blows. And like, they both commented, at least you get to work from home. And I was like, ooh, uber sting, because I did work from home as my IT job. And so I was like, and I felt bad. They both had kids. I don't think we had Braylon. No, we didn't have Braylon yet at this point. And so I was like, okay, like, I am grateful I get to work from home, but this sucks. This job is like, it's sucking the life out of me. And then also, like, I remember my call at 3 weeks postpartum with Braylon, where my boss calls me and is like, you need to come, you're coming back at 6 weeks because those people you trained, we let them go. So we definitely need you back. And I'm like 3 weeks postpartum, ready to just at least have my 6 weeks that I was getting unpaid to have this new baby child in my life. And so that was a terrible, terrible thing. And then just I've never liked any jobs, like, never. I worked at the movie theater. I worked at Chili's. I worked at an ice cream shop, and I did the IT job. And I've never liked a job. And I know that if I had had personal development in my life, I probably would have been fine with them. I would have been more okay with them, but I didn't have that in my life. And Beachbody, like, that's like one of the very vital behaviors. Like, we have to have personal development. So yeah, those are like kind of my passion and my purpose. Like, I actually really like what I do, and I think it's because of the personal development, and then just because I feel like I'm grateful, and I also feel treated better than I did in the past.
Yes. Okay. But can you see, like, so I want you guys to see that as an example. Like, if you made a post that was like, I love that I get to work from home and like do what I love, and I'm so grateful for that. Okay. Somebody might be like, cool. Or the person that's still in the office is going to be like, like, roll their eyes, right? Because they wish they were that person. Or you could show up and you could say the story about getting the phone call when you were 3 weeks postpartum and having to go back and like, what am I going to do? And like talking about like personal stories of like never liking what you did and feeling like miserable and feeling like a slave to what you were doing. Like, if you got deeper into the actual events that go underneath that category, how much more would that person relate to it? Yeah. Right? The mom that is postpartum right now, or she's almost at the end of her term and she's like, I don't want to have to go back to work. Or the woman that has the 2-year-old at home, it's like, that's me, and I feel like I'm missing out on things. Like, telling the detailed stories are going to evoke the emotion in people. Saying up here at the surface and saying like, oh, I'm so glad I get to work from home, like, that might spark a little bit of a feeling in somebody, but it's not going to spark the same as like if you tell like, this was me, like I get it. So the woman that's miserable and feels trapped in her job, like she's going to know that like you truly do know what she's feeling. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, good. So anybody else? We're not going to probably be able to go through everybody's polar stories, but maybe. So let's see. Who wants to go? Who wants to share what you have? What about Heather? Haylee? Okay, cool. There you go.
I was going to say, I will, just because, and it's weird because I feel like I've done this before, but just going through this and like thinking through as you're talking, I'm like, I don't think I've shared even half of this, and it's bizarre to think, like I feel like I should have been the whole time. But so the first one would be, I'm doing this for the community, and it's how it was for me before we had kids. So like I've always been really competitive. When I was younger, I was into sports, and like I've always been into fitness. I actually found out about Beachbody because my mom did P90X when I was a teenager. And so like I just grew up in fitness, but like going to the gym, you don't really, unless you're really outgoing, like you don't make friends, you don't have a community there, you're by yourself. You can do a fitness class, but I don't want to do that because I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't want to look stupid in front of a bunch of people. And so I felt like I was just trying to figure out what fit for me. And so when I met my husband, he was doing CrossFit. So we started in CrossFit, and I felt like I had the community aspect, but it was because I did really well at it. So I felt like they were accepting me because I was good at it. And so then I just felt like I had to be the best. Like it wasn't really a community because they're only my friends if I'm really, really good at it. So it's just a constant battle of trying to figure out like where my real friends are and who I can be myself around. And so then I actually accepted my coach's invite to become a coach. And here I am with like all of my favorite people that I've never even met before in real life.
Yes. Okay. So you need to share that story though. Like, again, I'm just going to give you an example. Surface level. I love that I've met some of my best friends, like doing this business, and like, I feel so grateful. Okay. That's like here, or you could go way up here with like that story, like feeling like you never really fit in, or people were just liking you because of how you were performing. And like, now I have like telling the actual story.
Yeah.
That makes sense, instead of like the facts. Oh, I love that. So community, what's your other one?
So another one is just wanting to be own my own business. And I know that seems like when you started talking, I was like, no, wait, that is surface level. I don't know how to get more into that, but my mom and her husband growing up, they own their own business. And so I saw like what kind of freedom that gave our family, but ultimately they were both working so much. They were never together. They were never communicating. They were just always working all the time. And so eventually like that ended. And so it's like, well, I want the freedom of that, but the healthy relationship that goes with it. And I don't know how to put those together. And so like
that story is powerful.
That's where I feel like I get nervous, because I get nervous to share stuff about family that's like not me.
Okay. So here's what I'm glad you said that, because like when I talk about my experience with my ex-husband and stuff, I'm very much make sure that my posts are from my point of view, and I take complete ownership of it. And I really do take ownership of it. So it'll be like, it's not even about him or what he brought to the table. It's like, this is me and what I allowed, and I wasn't using my voice, and now I'm using my voice, and how that helps me, blah, 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 right? So it's all my side of the street. So when you tell a story like that, you can just say, growing up, my parents were entrepreneurs, or, whatever. And like, it really helped me to light that fire that I wanted to be in charge of my own freedom and my life and how it went. And then that could be one story. And then the next story could be, it's the balance of owning your own business and still putting your relationship first, and putting your relationship as a priority, and how it is possible to be happy and healthy and whole and own a business. And like, those could be two stories that really aren't like, so no one has to know that they weren't out of balance. It could just be, they lit the fire in me to do my own thing, and I want to prioritize being happy and whole at the same time. So you kind of like leave out the parts that aren't your story to tell. Maybe that's not them being I don't want to say they weren't happy, but whatever was going on there with the dynamic, like, it's not your story to tell. Your story is like, what did you do with that?
Yeah.
Yes,
that is perfect. I love it.
Yeah. But I'm glad you said that, because that's important. That's one of those things that holds people back from sharing their story, is what are these people that are close to me going to think? So
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Good. And then what's your third one?
So the third one is really like the postpartum that I went through after we had our twins. Because I feel like at that point I had been doing Beachbody coaching for 2.5 years, and I had just gotten used to sharing my life. Like, that was just part of what I was doing. And so I feel like that opened the door for me to build relationships with other women that either had gone through it or were going through it at the same time as me. And really, like with Tamara, me and Tamara talked about that a lot, because I'm like, I don't feel like this is normal. Like, I don't know, I don't want to share on social media that I literally want to run away from my life. I feel like people are going to think I'm being a baby, because then there are those people that like, well, at least you have kids. And so I don't want to, I guess demean isn't the right word, but I don't want to make their story smaller, but like, this is very real for me. And it opened up a lot of conversation for me with other women that I never would have had, that were like, thank you for saying that. That's exactly how I'm feeling. I never would have said it out loud. I finally know that someone understands. And I haven't shared it in a while because I'm not going through it anymore, but I know that I should, because it was a huge part of our lives for 9 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a difference between like sharing it for sympathy and attention, right? And then sharing it for a purpose. Like, that's a huge difference. And so when you talk about the postpartum, it's not that like, oh, poor me, or like, especially at the time, right? So like, let's say you guys are going through something currently. There's a way to share it powerfully, that you're not just like, oh, I feel bad and I'm so like, like blah, 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 like trying to get attention from people, or like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to be real with you guys. Like, there's days that like I struggle with anxiety, or like whatever your truth is, right? And some days it's hard to get out of bed, and then the next day I might feel amazing. And by sharing that, you're sharing it with the purpose of, I want to help other women that feel this way. I want them to know that they're not alone, so that together we can like rise and be stronger. Or I want to help, it doesn't have to be women, like whoever, right? Can make that connection. So you have to have your reason in your mind about why you're sharing these stories too. That makes sense?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else? So Heather, like,
sure.
You guys have any that you're just like really confused about, or you just want to run through? Tamara, how are we doing on time? What do you want to do?
So we have 5 minutes left on this, but anybody that like, and this is up to Haylee too, but if we don't get through somebody's conversation and you want Haylee and Haylee has time, maybe we could, just log off Zoom and then log back on after the 5 minutes.
Yeah, I could probably go about 10 minutes longer. So after the
5 minutes, if somebody still has questions, we can log
absolutely.
So if Heather wants to go.
So Heather, what were yours?
So mine started off with, let's see, I guess I started with fitness because probably about, almost 11 years ago. That seems like such a long time ago. I moved to Louisville, and I moved here for a job to be with my now husband and my friends. And after 2 years, I was laid off of my job. And so I was stuck. My husband and I, now husband had just become engaged, and we were getting married in like 6 months, and I had nothing. I didn't get any severance package or anything like that. I was just laid off with nothing. And so I was laid off for like 2 years, and I'm like, there's nothing I'm going to find in Louisville in logistics anymore. Because that's what I was doing. I mean, for real, logistics in Louisville, international logistics at that. I mean, it's just weird. And so I needed to reinvent myself, and I kept thinking, okay, like, what can I see myself doing? Because, or how do I see my life? And it was basically, I wanted to have a family, and then I wanted to be able to be happy and healthy and there for them. And so I remember sitting down at dinner with my husband and telling him, you know, these things. And he was like, well, what does that mean for you? And I was like, well, I think it would be fun to do something in fitness or at a gym. So I got a job at the Y, started studying for my personal training certification, and started running because I was overweight then. And I'm like, no, I mean, and please forgive me for saying these words, but this is what I said out loud. I was like, nobody's going to believe a fat personal trainer. So I have to get fit, and I have to start believing what I'm preaching, and I have to be a good example, right? I hate the word fat, so I hate saying it out loud. So I had to slowly, like, through that process, I was slowly starting to build like confidence and just belief in myself and what I could do. So my second thing became nutrition and connections, and those became more apparent when I became a mom. You know, I became a mom. I needed people who could understand me. And I knew that when my children started getting older, I didn't want them going through fast food drive-thrus and drinking soda all the time. So that was I had to figure out how to do that. And I wasn't entirely sure how to figure that out, because as a personal trainer, you're not a nutritionist, right? I mean, you're just not, unless you go for that certification too, which is really expensive. So then my third one was body image and confidence, and that like stemmed through childhood. Like I remember being in elementary school, which is ridiculous to me. And I remember standing in line with all my girlhood friends, and I remember we were all comparing, like pinching our bellies and comparing the size of our bellies and saying, oh my gosh, I'm fatter than you. It was stupid. I mean, thinking about that now, but it's like that had to come from somewhere. And then it just snowballs throughout your life. It gets worse. And, I mean, let's not even go through college. I mean, we all know what happens in college. We go on our own. We don't eat well. We don't know how to eat well because we haven't been doing it for ourselves. And then adulthood, when everything slows down and you really have to figure things out for good. So, so I guess
I'm gonna pause you really quick because it is going to kick us off. So we can all hop off really quick because I want to pause you really quick. We can all hop off and hop back on to hear the rest of Heather's story and to help have Haylee kind of backtrack this for us. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
See you in a sec.